Ever since I started consuming alcohol when I was 21 and no time before, I found that I really like hard cider. Recently, my wife has been telling me I need hobbies, so what a better hobby than to make my own cider at home. Today, I am going to start fermenting 3 different ciders. First, I'm just going to make a plain regular cider. This is my control to see what I'm actually going to be trying to modify. The second cider that I want to make is strong apple cider. I like it to be nice and crisp and have a really strong apple flavor. And the third, I want to make something a little more creative, something that has elements of fruit and earth. I think apricot and pistachio flavoring can go really well in a hard cider. I've just got a gut feeling. The base of my ciders are always going to be the same. I got to start out somewhere. This thing is a little annoying. A half gallon of pasteurized apple juice with no preservatives. Smells like apple juice. Then I'm going to be adding 1 tablespoon of sugar, which should increase the level of alcohol. Yeast, Saf Cider AC4 yeast. Swirl gently. And then I'm going to airlock it and come back in 2 weeks. Airlock. Now I need somewhere to place these. What better place than under a desk? You want to have a darkish place, which doesn't really exist in my apartment, and a place that has the same temperature all the time, which also doesn't really exist in my apartment. The only reason I'm doing any of this is because I already enjoy hard cider. Why not just try a bunch of different ciders with different profiles, kind of understand my preferences with cider. And you know, if you disagree with me, you're just wrong. 2 ciders from my favorite cidery, which is a local Atlanta cidery called Urban Tree Cidery. This is a semi-dry cider. This has a rich odor of apples, which, you know, is kind of what I'm looking for when I go for a cider. I would say this is a pretty crisp cider. That's nice. It's not very bold. It does its job really well. One of my go-tos. My wife hates this stuff. What my wife doesn't hate is the blueberry cider, which is a pretty sweet cider. As you can see, this is a very dark colored cider. It's very sweet and fruity. This has a real explosion of flavor when you start drinking it. I want something that is a little bit more balanced. My wife loves this stuff. So now it's been 48 hours of fermenting. Some bubbles have started to form, some foam on a couple of them. You can see a lot of bubbles forming here on the edge. I don't know if it should be more or less, but I'm happy with how it's looking so far. I grew up with a mom who did just about everything homemade at the house. From housework to food and yard work, we kept things in the house. Sure, it was definitely cheaper, but homemade is much more than just a convenience. It's fun, and it gives you something to dedicate yourself to and achieve. It makes it your own in a world where you can just buy anything that was somebody else's.
Look.
As a kid, growing up, seeing things my mom did around the house made my mom my hero. And that's more valuable than money. I'm gonna try Atlanta Hard Cider Company's crisp apple cider. It smells like a lot more sour than other ciders, and it definitely tastes a little bit more sour. It is a bit more bitter than just your regular sparkling cider, but it's not far enough away from that. Next up, the Stella Artois cider. Immediately it smells more like apples. You know what, that's pretty decent actually. On the sweeter side for sure, but it goes down really smooth. It fills your mouth real nice all around texture. So I said that I didn't have a dark place in my apartment. Well, on day 4, I realized I have a spare bathroom. And so I've kept them in the bathtub with the lights off, and hopefully this helped the fermentation process. I'm at day 10, and maybe I'm ready to go ahead and start secondary fermentation a little bit sooner. This is just my amateur cider maker, first time ever doing it opinion. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, we'll see. So the first cider I'm doing is just a basic cider. I don't know why I was kind of afraid for a second. All I'm gonna do is rack this cider so I can get rid of some of the sediment. It actually smells kind of sour, but it smells like cider. All right. This is the first basic cider. It does not smell the greatest, but let's see what it tastes like. This is kind of actually a little sour. It does taste a lot like apples, but I think I would definitely want to make it sweeter. It's not actually too bad though.
It does smell like cider. I think it's good.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad.
I think it needs more of like an apple flavor. Got a weird smell.
Hey, if we both get sick, we have 2 bathrooms. The second cider I'm doing, which I'm calling Strong Apple, I've got a red Fuji apple and I've got a red Gala apple. These are both sweet apples that are good for cider. So I'm gonna slice them up, put them in. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop it in there.
I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to get the apple slices out.
I'm not stopping, am I? I didn't know I had to julienne the apples. I'm sorry. Apple number 2 is going in and is hopefully easier to get out. Starting to question a little bit if I'm doing too much. Now that smells good. To give it a little bit of enhancement, I'm also gonna be adding some cinnamon sticks. I'm gonna go ahead and re-airlock this and put it back in the bathtub. Hopefully these additions will make it have more body when it's done. Hopefully it's good. The third cider is when things get a little bit more complicated. I really loved apricot juice as a kid. Maybe that's why I thought to make a cider into it. But it goes straight to the bottom. Hopefully that will make that flavor rise. And for the pistachio flavoring, I've got some pistachio syrup. Because there's a lot of sugars in this syrup, I don't want to add it right now because there is still active yeast in there, so I'm only going to add that at the end, and hopefully those flavors mesh really well. Now I'm going to try one of the biggest brands of cider out there, which is Strongbow. There's a real nice sweetness to the aftertaste, but when it first hits your mouth, it didn't really taste that much. It's pretty good, but it didn't really engage my tongue like the moment it hit the tongue. So now to the cider that probably sells the most in the United States, Angry Orchard. Some people love this stuff, some people hate it. I prefer to support local ciders, but this is a cider that I do enjoy. You can really smell the apples in there. This is easy to drink. It hits your tongue, you taste the apples. It goes down, you still taste the apple. This is a very successful cider for a reason. In college, thanks to my mom, I got started making things at home myself. Whether it was cooking or building custom board games. Now it's amateur furniture, a budding balcony garden, and hard cider. That I can say these things are truly my own makes my home feel more like home. So as I get older and start my own family, making things homemade is a core value that I want to nurture. My favorite cider of all time, Urban Tree's Classic Cider. It's only available in their tasting room. Today is Saturday. This batch was actually kegged Thursday afternoon, so it's as fresh as can be. Immediately, it smells so good. It's got a very deep aroma, goes straight in there and tickles your brain a little bit. That is some good cider. It's got 2 distinct moments in your mouth. The first one's super crisp. The back is where it really gets you. It's mellow, it's sweet, feels like there's something in there, and it's greatness. I like a lot of ciders. That's really the point of it. But things that stood out to me is a crisp apple flavor, a smooth finish, but I have quite liked something that has like 2 moments in your mouth and like really stays there. Do I know how to achieve that perfect flavor that I want? No, but that's what the trial and error is all about. So a week has passed and this is the basic cider. I took the airlock off, I just capped it and I put it in the fridge. I also went ahead and added about 200 milliliters of the original apple juice to kind of sweeten it a little bit. It definitely smells better than it did. That's pretty good.
It's definitely a bit sour.
Kind of has more like a wine feel. Some carbonation would make it closer to a cider, but it's pretty good, honestly. Like I'll drink it for sure. For a first basic cider, it's really not bad.
It's good.
I've already started 2 other ferments that are supposed to be basic ciders. One has brown sugar instead of regular white sugar, and the other one has no added sugar. I'm not sure if adding that sugar at the beginning was a good idea or not yet. And this is my strong apple cider after another week in the bathtub. It smells pretty good. Definitely more glassy, kind of. You can definitely smell the cinnamon, for sure.
Oh, yeah. The cinnamon smells good. It smells good. Yeah. It smells really good.
Well, we'll see. Maybe there's a little bit too much cinnamon, but we'll see.
Could be, which is funny because I thought it wasn't enough.
You just like cinnamon.
I do.
Whoa. Not what I expected at all.
That is very bitter.
Very bitter, yeah. I guess because there's so many sugars of the apples, it just kept getting more dry and bitter.
I don't love it. I can't taste
I can't taste the apple very much either. Maybe I added the apples too soon.
It's got the same sourness that the basic cider does, with just like bombshells of cinnamon in it.
Yeah. It is a little disappointing, but this is my first try and something that I'm gonna keep working on. We got the fruit, we got the earth, and hey, if when I taste it, it's bad, it just will be an apricot cider. That smells like something. Wow. I don't know. That smells crazy. Let's try it first, just the apricot.
It's actually not that bad. You can taste the apricot. It's good.
You can taste a little bit of the apricot for sure.
On like the front of your tongue, it's like pretty sour, but as you like swallow it, it goes over the back of your tongue. That's where you can taste like the apricot.
It is a bit kind of plain.
Ooh, you can definitely smell the pistachio syrup. That's all you can smell.
It's definitely sweeter.
I think too much
I think
of the pistachios.
I think, yes, a little bit too much. The taste is actually not too bad though. The pistachio and apricot does work well together.
I think so, yeah.
Wow, who would have thunk it?
Who would've
Me.
thought?
This is only the start of a really long adventure with cider. When I taste these and I say, wow, I made this myself at home, it's a great feeling. Because this is something that I can keep doing month after month, it gives me something to look forward to. It gives me a satisfaction about the home that I'm creating. I'm gonna keep working at this, and hopefully in the next few months, we've got a really flavorful cider that is very tasty.